Peter Gammons, Major League Baseball Network analyst. MLB Network will exclusively televise two NLDS games on Saturday, October 4th, Monday, October 6th, as we get ready for the postseason. If you seeded the playoffs, Peter, as far as teams, who would be the number one seed in the National League and the American League?
I think the number one seed in the National League would be Washington, very narrowly over the Dodgers. But I can't really predict exactly where the Dodgers are, where they're going, and what exactly is happening. I think they're very dangerous, but I think Washington is the best all-around team, and especially with certain people, particularly Strasburg, peaking at the right time. And I think their bullpen has come together at the right time. American League, I find it really difficult. I would seed Baltimore number one because I think that while they don't have dazzling names in their starting rotation, they've built that team. They've built the pitching staff, I think, brilliantly. For one thing, by holding back, I believe Tillman is the only starting pitcher who is within 10 innings of his career high for a season. And, you had Chen. All their starting pitchers had ERAs of 2.50 or less in the month of September. They have the deepest bullpen in baseball. I think they're very well geared. The only thing that scares me a little bit about Baltimore is a lot of swing and miss in them. And if you get Scherzer, Verlander, David Price, are they going to score enough runs? Even though they were a high-scoring team during the season, I could see them having a little bit of trouble in the playoffs. I would have them seeded number one. And even though they play them in the first round, I think Detroit would be number two.
Any mismatches you see?
No, because I don't think anybody is really that good. I think that there are teams that are good, but they're not great. And for instance, will Kansas City score enough runs? I don't know. I can't figure out Oakland or Kansas City in certain ways. I love Kansas City's pitching, but when Oakland can go and start Lester and Samardzija, like 4 times through the first round of the playoff, through the ALDS, that gives them a chance. As dysfunctional as they've been. And I don't think they're any. I think one of the more interesting matchups, too, in the play-in games is San Francisco-Pittsburgh because, I understand why Clint Hurdle did it, and it's the right reason to pitch Garrett Cole yesterday. But when you have a one-game playoff and you have to see when you go up against Bumgarner in one game and you're throwing Edison Volquez out there, Volquez has been very good, but he's not Garrett Cole. Liriano has been highly inconsistent with his command. Every time that Bumgarner pitches, the Giants have a great chance to win and move on. And then, as we know, Bruce Bochy just finds ways. It doesn't matter who he puts out there. He finds ways to end up in some sort of scrum so that you go, they might end up winning this game in the ninth inning. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Why won't Clayton Kershaw win the MVP?
Oh, I think he will. I mean, their record with him and without him is so dramatic.
So it's a sure thing?
I think it's a sure thing. Now, if Giancarlo Stanton had not been hit in the face, at the time he was hit, he led the National League in, I believe it was 13 normal and analytical categories. And I had Elliot Kolb and the great people at research at MLB Network check it out for me. And the only 3 people that had ever done that in a season were Mike Schmidt in the strike-shortened 81 season, Babe Ruth once, and Ted Williams 3 times. That's it. That's the kind of year. And at the time, Stanton had missed only 1 game all year, which means that reliability factor, which I think is terribly important in baseball or in any sport, really. I think Stanton was the MVP now, and I love McCutchen. I have great admiration for most of the certain other players, I think McCutcheon would be the main guy. But at the same time, I just don't see. I mean, Kershaw is that much better than anybody else, and the team played at a level with him that was just astounding. And, winning all these ERA titles in a row and do things that essentially only Sandy Koufax has done in the last 40, 50 years, to me, it's MVP because that's a strange team. I mean, they're not exactly consistent defensively. And they didn't always score a ton of runs for him. He made himself, he willed himself to just win constantly. So, I mean, what it reminds me a lot of, and I thoroughly defended him getting the MVP, was Roger Clemens in '86, and Mattingly had a great year, finished second, but Clemens sort of not only changed the culture. The Red Sox were a totally different team that year. What was he, 24-4? But they were a totally different team when he walked out of the mound. He gave them a swagger after a sub-500 year the year before. He gave them a swagger that really carried them through the middle of the season. And I think Kershaw did the same thing for the Dodgers.
He's Peter Gammon, Major League Baseball Network, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Why wouldn't somebody vote for Jeter on the first ballot Hall of Fame?
I have no idea. I mean, you could just...
But guys are not going to vote for him because, well, they've done it before, and Babe Ruth didn't get unanimous, or whoever you want to put out there. It just sounds kind of silly that you say, this is why I'm not voting for him.
I mean, this whole thing about whether a guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer has driven me crazy. I mean, you know me well enough to know I take that ballot really seriously. My Hall of Fame vote is to me, it's one of the most important things I do because of that little clique, that little the group of people really means. And I know you see what it means when all of a sudden they're Hall of Famers. I mean, for instance, this last summer, I was doing a forum the next day for the Hall, and I asked Tom Glavine about being at the party after the induction ceremony and being treated as a peer, as an equal by Sandy Koufax. And Glavine went, "Well, I'm not the equal of Sandy Koufax." I said, now that you're in that club, in his eyes you are. And he looked at me with an expression that I'll never forget because he lit up over it. When you see that, you realize how important that vote is. It's so silly to say, well, this guy is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't vote for anybody on the first ballot. Come on. I mean, it's also a great part of sports, is people being like, we're going to have Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez and probably John Smoltz, and of course I think Mike Mussina, but that's a debate for November. But
what if I said you had to pick between Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter?
I would pick Jeter because of, and that's a terribly difficult choice, but because he played so many innings, so many games, and so reliably, to be there in that lineup every day, I think really meant something. And yes, in the last 5 years, he was not an Ozzie Smith or an Omar Vizquel, but he wasn't something pulled out of a trash barrel either. I mean, and I don't know. Yesterday, I sitting there yesterday at Fenway, I decided to call it Détente Day because it was unbelievable the number of Red Sox fans wearing Derek Jeter shirts.
I know.
But it's good because what he did is he reminded us all that people could scream Yankees bleep or Red Sox bleep or something else. In the end, Derek Jeter just represented why we all love the game. And I thought in that way, I think it was Ian O'Connor wrote a great column where he said that one of the most amazing things that Jeter actually did in his career was to build a bridge between Yankee Stadium and Fenway Park. And I love that line.
Well, enjoy the playoffs, Pete. We'll check back in with you a little bit deeper into the postseason. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you. you very much, Dan.
All right, Peter Gammon to Major League Baseball Network.